recording. And all the recordings will be available I will be sending the recordings directly in the Telegram for the time being. Normally, the recording in the Google Drive normally is done by Alan, and the recordings will be sent directly to the Telegram so that you can view it there as you see. And yes, and then the PDFs are sometimes uploaded by Svetala on the group, so please view it there. If you don't get it here, or if you didn't download it from here, or when you join late, if you aren't able to get it from here, you can go to the group and it's always there. And then there were few of the quiz which was posted by Petunia. So those who want to practice may do it through the quiz. And then I've already sent the assignments, most of the assignments. So the assignment for the 6th grammatical case will be given once we are done with all these 5 relations of the relation case or relative case. Once we're done with that, I will make one whole assignment in which I can actually have more variation. So instead of just making an assignment for one relation, I can make a variation, and then I could also make some questions which are more challenging than others with more variation. So this is something that is the reason why last class I didn't send any assignments for the last class. And most of the assignments, either I could prepare it as the way it was, which is sending the PDFs, or what I can do is I can provide, I can actually make it in the Google form, the way it is done in the Google form, so that you can check it there, and then you can access the homework assignments from there, and then I can check the response which I get on get through the Google sheet that is produced in against the Google form. So you may whichever is much better, we can do that. And the exams, I will be preparing exams for soon. I will be preparing exams for the Tibetan before we start the so I think this is most wonderful way to do it. What I'll do is I'll prepare the exams. I'll send it after the last class for the year 2022. And then the last class for the basic conversation class. After that, I'll send the exams for the Tibetan basic conversation class, and then you can check according to the exams if you would like to join directly with us in the lower intermediate Tibetan conversation class, or you would like to take some time to review all the videos and then to study them again and then join us later. So you can do that accordingly. So I will be giving you 3 weeks of time to finish the exams. So you will have 3 weeks less so, then we will have Google form. So therefore, you will be given 3 weeks to complete the exams. Those who are able to attend here, or those who are not able to attend here, may attempt these. I will send it in the Telegram group that we have. Sorry, not in the Telegram, in the WhatsApp group that we have for basic conversation class, and then you can attempt it. And according to the marks, it's an open choice. The thing is that it's an open choice. There is no requirement for the lower intermediate conversation class. But if you would like to decide on the basis of how much you score in the exams, that will be also it, and I'll see to it. And once you start attempting the exam, I'll make sure that the timer is already automatic with that, so that the exams won't be that long, most probably. but still, it will be something that you will be able to finish in few hours. So therefore, we'll have that exam on. I'll send it on the evening. Is it an open book exam? I mean, it can be an open book exam, but it would be better if you would answer it according to your own understanding of the lesson. So I would appreciate if you would do it with without referring to the notes that I have provided, so that you can actually challenge yourself in analyzing analyzing how much you have learned, and to better understand. If you could join us directly after the 3 weeks of gap. So we will have 3 weeks of holiday. So after the 3 weeks of holiday, we will continue with our grammar class. And then, in that case, I'll give you 1 month to finish the exams, so that you can finish it whenever you can in the duration of 1 month. Because right after we come back from our 3 weeks holiday, we're not going to continue with the basic intermediate conversation class, but we will start a course. It will be just 1 month course. It is called the Dharma vocabulary, where we will only introduce the vocabulary that are used in the text, and the meaning, the usage of these words, how the meaning of these words, how they change in context with other names. So just for 1 week, we will analyze just the words or terms of, let's say, right now I'm aspiring to finish 3 texts, not very long ones. So let's see. But before that, we'll also have a poll on which text to first study. So after that, we will continue our class on lower intermediate reading class. And once we're done with the lower intermediate reading class, we'll come back to lower intermediate conversation class. So therefore, you see that there's at least 2.5 months in between. So if you want to revise, you can revise all entire basic conversation class in that duration. So therefore, I will provide you 1 month to finish the exams, which I think that it's most just and proper. We will not have any exams on grammar. This we will do once we are finished with one portion of the connective particle. Once we are done with the dependent particles, we'll have 1 exam. Once we are done with the independent particles, then we will have 1 exam. Once we are done with the punctuation, we'll have an entire exam. So 1 exam with the entire course. So let's see, so that we can determine if we would like to continue, or if we would like to do the revision. Okay, so that being said, good evening to everyone, Tashitele, and welcome to our Tibetan grammar class on the Tree of Excellence or Eloquent Speech by Yangchen, Drubpay, Dorje. And today we're going to discuss further only 2 relations. So we're going to discuss 2 relations in each class. So I think that by the end of this year's classes, we will be able to finish the 6th grammatical case, and that is where we will leave it. We'll have 1 class to revise everything from we'll have 1 or 2 class probably. Today is Thursday, so we have Monday, and then probably we'll have Wednesday. If we have Wednesday, then on Wednesday we will try to do a revision of the entire thing that we have learned from the beginning to this point. A very quick revision. We'll do a very quick revision till this point of the grammar class, and let's see if we can have 1 more. Most probably, what we will do is that on Saturday we'll have 1 conversation class, and then on Friday, on Wednesday, probably, I think it's on Wednesday, and So it's 8. So we have Wednesday, and on the next conversation class, we'll do just revision of everything. We'll do revision from the top to the last. So we'll just do revision for 2 classes for basic conversation class, 1 class for revision for grammar class, Tibetan grammar class till this point, and then we will call it a year for 2023. That's so. Let us begin today's lesson. And then there's this one thing that I have already decided, that for each class. So yes, last grammar class, what I did is I wrote a praise to Saraswati. And this class I have wrote a praise to Manjushri. Next class I'll write another praise for Saraswati. That's only for the grammar class. And then the next class I'll write an entirely new verse, a praise to Manjushri. So 1 class Saraswati, 1 class Manjushri. So we'll do it like this. And each class I will provide new praise, new translation to that. So this is something that we will do. Okay, so Tashidele to everyone. And then today's praise to Manjushri begins in this way. So Tusum Sangi Shirap Ngoni, which means the embodiment of the Buddha of 3 times, which is the past, the present, and the future, meaning the embodiment of the wisdom of all of the Buddha, the very embodiment of the wisdom of all of the Buddha, present, past, and future. The one who cuts through the darkness of the one who holds the sword which cuts through the darkness of self-grasping ignorance. So Min means darkness, Daozi means self-grasping ignorance. So the holder of the sword that cuts through the darkness of self-grasping grasping ignorance, the one who speaks the most excellent speech. And by the sound of this excellent speech, which we refer to as the sound of emptiness, waking up all the sentient beings from their sleep. Lama Jambeyan La Chatelo, I prostrate to you, O Guru Manjushri. So this is the praise for this class. Next class, I'll write another one. So we'll have 1 praise each class. So if you would like to collect them, you can also collect them if you feel that this praise is somewhat relevant. So Tusum Sangi Shirap Ngoni, Retizim Batazim Museo, Sunjo Trapen Dorje Listen, Lama Jambeyan La Chatelo. So this is the praise and dedication, so that our class will be blessed by Manjushri, that we will arise the wisdom to understand the system of word that is the expression of the conventional reality. Okay, so then the root mantra of Manjushri, which is Om Arapachana Di, Di being the seed of Manjushri and the seed of wisdom. Okay, so I think this is adequate explanation. So this will be sufficient. Okay, now Ide Namya Trupa, particle possessing E and the 6th grammatical case. Today we will discuss 2 relations, only 2 relations. And so if you have any questions regarding past classes, you can ask me here. So this is something that you can do because today's class I don't think will be very long, because we just have 2. And the reason why I have only 2 relation is not because it's not because we want to extend the lesson. It's because 2 relation is enough for 1 class. Normally we just do 1 relation, so 2 relation is enough, more than enough, so that you can have time to understand these relation and make sentence by yourself. If you're making sentence, you can send it to me. You can always send it to me so that I can review and give you feedbacks on this. And then some of you have sent me the recording. I'll I'll give you feedback as soon as possible. I'll have more time once we're done with the course and have the holiday. In that duration, if you are memorizing the text, send me the recording. I will listen. I will send you feedback, because then I won't have anything to do except preparing for the next course that we're going to have. At the end of the entire course, the most important thing is not attending the course, but being able to improve your Tibetan by the use of this course. And the best way to do it is to use it. So please make sure that you use it. And if you cannot speak in the group, you can speak to me. You can just directly send me your recordings, or if you have questions, you can directly send it to me. And then I'll try to answer them during the holiday that we have of the 3 weeks. Then after that, we'll have another course. It will be years upon years of course. And the most important thing is that you improve your Tibetan. You have a certain grasp of understanding of what Tibetan you're learning. What is the Tibetan that is your Tibetan? That will be the most important thing. And very important is memorizing those texts, because eventually you're going to be able to understand each and every one of those words. And at that time, those texts are going to be wonderful to you and every one of you, especially the Tree of Excellent Speech. This is going to be a lifesaver, especially in the field of grammar. Okay, so this is the verse which tells us the 5 particles of 6th grammatical case, as well as the existence of 6th grammatical case as one of the usage of ine, or particle possessing e. So remember, every time, like I said last time, we are focusing on statement based on we're focusing on classification based on statement, and the particles are secondary in that case. So please remember that. Okay, so the text, the root text of the commentary by Yangchen Dorje is Kiki ki yingapo namye trupa delta tang. So tang is a conjunction and also a continuative particle. What it does is that it says that this is not done here. I'm not done talking here. There is something that's going to come after that. And what comes after this is the reference of the 3rd grammatical case. So the particle possessing e has 2 functions. One for the usage case of the first 6th grammatical case, then the 3rd grammatical case. So you will also understand that as we are moving on with the class, we're also covering each type of those grammatical cases. So all of those statements which are known as the 1st to 8th grammatical case. And like I said, the concept of the grammatical case is a very conflicting one in the context of the history of grammar, Tibetan grammar. Some say that this is a Tibetan word. It's a Tibetan word, Tibetan concept. And some say that this is not a Tibetan concept. It's a concept that is being that comes to the system of grammar from one states it comes from the Indian system of grammar. Other states that it comes from Chinese system of grammar, where they have 8 grammatical case. Similarly, in the Indian grammatical system, where they have the 8 grammatical case. And but the thing is that in the more accepted view, it is accepted that the 8 grammatical case are not Tibetan concept, but it is a concept that is being translated during the time of the 33rd king. So during the time of the 33rd king, what happened is that the 33rd king was actually had actually achieved a lot. If we look at the lineages of different kings, he has achieved a lot. He was a very powerful king. He conquered many neighboring countries. Not only that, he also made a very significant step or advance towards the establishment of Tibetan Buddhism in Tibet. So for that purpose, what he did is that he had a lot of wealth, and he spent a lot of wealth. Not only that, he made multiple relations with different kingdoms to establish a form of cultural exchange, as well as a form of inviting Buddhism in Tibet. Two of the most famous ones are the marriage of the 33rd king to the princess of China and the princess of Nepal. And by doing that, they not only invited many texts in Tibet on Buddhism, they also invited two of the most important and significant idols in Tibet. So those apart. So therefore, we see that the concept of the grammatical case is actually something that has been translated. Similarly, the word Drubpay is a more contemporary idea. The more traditional and the more core idea of the statement is Drubpay, which is stated in both the 30 and commentaries, which were written in the more earlier times, like in the 13th, 14th, or even 15th century. Everyone used the term Drubpay. It is more contemporary term that is the statement, the tsigtup or sentence, a new concept that. So currently, I will say that it's a new concept and a contemporary concept. I will make sure that first I find the reference and then tell you that this is actually something that has come from the English system. But before establishing it here as strongly, I will see to get the references. So therefore, currently I have still many references to provide to you, every one of you. So I will do it eventually during the holiday. I'll search the entire thing that I have, from the books to the files that I have. And if I don't have it, I'll try to search it in the library and then give you the reference to most of the things that I have said, which seems quite new. But in any case, so the root text states, Kiki ki ying apun namia trupa tilda thang. So the 5 Kiki ki yi are the particles of the 6th grammatical case, the relative case, and. So the and comes from this. It's a conjunction and a continuative particle, which states that there's something that needs to come, and that refers to the 3rd grammatical case, which we will talk about after this. So 5 particles of the 6th grammatical case of the relative case. Okay, now what are the relations under the 6th grammatical case? First one, tenda tempa. The position and the object dependent on the position case relation. Second, chashe da chashe chen, parts and whole relation. Third, dapo danse, owner and object relation. Fourth, keshi da keche, characteristic bearer and characteristic relation. And final, gyudan jibu, cause and effect relation. So these are the 5 relations that we are talking, which are under the 6th grammatical case. So the statement of a 6th grammatical case will show one of these 5 relations. And if it's a statement that is to be established as a 6th grammatical case, we already said that it's a statement in which the relation is being showed between 2 names, the first name and the second name, and the relation is being established or shown by the particle of 6th grammatical case. So if it consists of these, if it fulfills these criteria, first criteria, showing relation between the first name and the second name. Second criteria, the thing that shows the relation between these 2 names should be the particle of 6th grammatical case. And then the third criteria is that the relation should be one of these 5 relations. If a statement, Okay, sorry. I will try to be more slower. I remember last time. So let me be more slower. The three criterias that we have. The first criteria is that the statement should show a relationship between any two names, the first name and the second name. And when I say name, the name can either be the actual name or designated name, like we said. The actual name, for example, like Ri, Chu, Keng Ri, Me. These are actual names because they represent the actual thing. If we say like Chu, and if we are referring to the water, then we know that the Chu is water and it's the actual thing, so actual name. Then we have the designated name, like for example, for a person we can call Nima. A person could be called a Nima, but Nima means son, right? But the person is not the son, so it's a designated name. Or we can also use a pronoun, Mingsup, like I, nga, ko, he, she, ke, ke, you. So these are the pronouns that you can use. So the name, the first name and second name could either be actual name, designated name, or it could be a pronoun similar to the second name. And then the statement should show some type of relation between these two names. And the thing that shows and the word that shows the relation between these two has to be the particle of sixth grammatical case. So the particle of sixth grammatical case should be the word that shows relation between these two. Yes, and now we come to more deeper understanding of the sixth grammatical case. Now you ask a question, relation. What do you mean by relation? So we say that there are six types of relation between the two words. The first is when the two names are the position. One could be the position or location. The second one has to be the object which is positioned at that location or dependent on that location. So this is the position and object dependent on position relation. The second one is one of the name is the part, the other is the whole of that whole made from those whole which is collective of those parts. So relation between that. Okay, so I don't know what happened. So let me see. I don't know what happened. Okay, so the recording's still going, so that's good. Lasso. Okay, so continuing. So the third relation is between the owner and the object that belongs to the owner. So one name represents the owner, the other name represents the object that belongs to the owner. And now the fourth relation is between two names, one name which could be the characteristic or a special type of quality, and the second name is the one that bears that quality, one that has the quality. So two names here are in the relation of the characteristic bearer and the characteristic. And then the final relation is between the cause and effect. One name is the cause, the other name is the effect. So cause and effect relation. Okay, so these are the five relations that we are talking about when we talk about the sixth grammatical case. And last time we already discussed the first relation, which was the position or location and object dependent on the position relation. Now, today we're going to talk about the second type of relation, which is relation of whole and parts. So whole and parts of the whole. So the definition. Chashe kanshi tang te chashe chen kanshi tang te chashe nipar dewar temper namye trupe te jorwa. So statement that shows the relation between the parts of the whole and the whole. So it shows the relation between the parts, that is the parts of that whole, which we're talking in this very sentence, and the whole, which is the collective of those parts. And the relation between this whole and the parts is shown by the usage of the particles of sixth grammatical case. Okay, one more time, clarifying the usage. That is the sixth grammatical case that we have done here. The reason why I am using the sixth grammatical case here has to do with the fact that that even though it is a particle that possesses the first vowel, that is E, but still we call it the sixth grammatical case particle because this has a different spelling to that of the third grammatical case. Whereas in the previous lesson that we did for the second for the particle used in place of la, we understood or we observed that it was irrelevant of which case we were talking. All of the particles had the same spelling, but the only exception was with the subgroup of the second grammatical case, which is that itself, in which we understood that we cannot use the particle na. Other than that, all of the cases had same number of particles and all of the particles had same spelling. But in this case, which is of the particle possessing E, during the time of during the usage in the sixth grammatical case, these will not have the same spelling as they will have during the third grammatical case. When we use the same particle with the third grammatical case, you'll see that there will be an addition of sa. So ki will be kaya the kekyu ki sa ki. Ki would be kaya the kekyu ki sa ki. Ki would be kakyu ki sa ki. And he would be hakyu yi sa yi. Yi would be yakyu yi sa yi, which is not the case in this usage, which is not the case in this usage. We see that in the sixth grammatical case, we see that this is not the case. We see that the entire particle does not have sa. All of the particles do not have sa. Therefore, we understand it in this way. So therefore, we see that there is difference in spelling. So therefore, I'm specifying sixth grammatical case here. Particles of sixth grammatical case, instead of generalizing it as the particle possessing E, that is the first vowel. Okay, so the statement that shows the relation between the parts of the whole and the whole. So it shows the relation between the parts of the whole in the context of the statement and the whole. So the relation between the whole and parts. So the part is not a part of anything else, but part of this whole that we are talking in this statement. And then the relation is between this whole and the whole that is the part that is the part that is of this whole. And the relation between this part and the whole is shown with the usage of the sixth grammatical case, the particle of the sixth grammatical case. And so if a statement fulfills these criteria, the first criteria of the statement of the relation of whole and parts under the sixth grammatical case is that it should be a statement that shows relation between the parts of the whole and the part and the whole. Sorry. And the second criteria is that it should the word that shows the relation between the parts of the whole and the whole should be the particle of sixth grammatical case. So by the usage of the particle of sixth grammatical case, what we do is that we establish the general idea that despite of the different relation, all of these statements are under the sixth grammatical case. So the particle is also an indicator that tells us that, yes, this statement is of a different relation. But we must understand that even though it's a different relation, it's still under the sixth grammatical case, which is the relative case. Okay, now with example. Okay, first, so components that which are necessary for these type of statements. The whole, the particles of sixth grammatical case, and the part of the whole. The whole, we have used the part of the whole. We are using a definite article here. The reason why we use a definite article here is because the whole that we are talking, the whole of the part of the whole that we are talking, the whole of which the part we are talking is the whole that is used in the context of the sentence. So we know which whole we are talking about. Therefore, we are using the definite article here. Okay, so these are the three components: the whole, the particles of sixth grammatical case, and the part of the whole of the same context. Okay, now example. Penna Kangbe go. Dikar chashi chen kangba tang te chashi go ni parla cha cha jing kin jawate nami trupe trupa delte tsikche hakiku yi tembar chashi da chashi chen ki jawa. So example, door, it's not or, it's of. So let me, door of the house. So when we use the statement door of the house, here the relation of the whole and the part of the whole is shown by the usage of, so the whole, which is in this case, so house, and the part of the whole, which in this case is the door. So door of the house, here the relation of the whole, which is the house, and the part of the whole, which is the door, is shown by the usage of particle of sixth grammatical case, hakyuku yi. So you see that it is here, hakyuku yi. So let me highlight this as green, or how about making it red to make it seem more apparent. So we see that hakyuku yi is the word that shows the relation between kangba, which is the house, and in this context it is the whole, and go, which is the door and a part of the house. And so we see that the relation between this door, which is the part of a house, and the whole, which is the house, is shown by the usage of the particle hakyuku yi, which is a particle of sixth grammatical case. So this is an example of a statement which is of the sixth grammatical case. So it not only sixth grammatical case, it is a statement which is of the relation of whole and parts, and it fulfills the three criteria. First, it shows a relation between the two names. Currently, the two names is kangba, house, and go, the door. And the relation between these two names, which is kangba, the house, and the door, go, is done by this particle of the sixth grammatical case. So second criteria fulfilled. Now the third criteria that makes it a special case of the sixth grammatical case, which is it's a different type of relation, is that this name, which is kangba, and this name, which is go, has a relation of whole and part. Kangba is the whole, the collective of all different parts, and go is the part of this whole, that is kangba. And so the relation between, and the relation that is shown by the sixth grammatical case particle, hakyugu yi, is of the whole and the part. Okay, so three examples provided. So examples of example sentence. So let's say example sentence, or I should do justice to this instead of being non-consistent. Let's be consistent. So we say Dorje. So the example of the relation of whole and parts. Pirje, which is the example. Chaje or chashije. Let's do chashije, which is better here. So chashije, which is the whole. The sixth grammatical case. And then finally, chashe, which is the part. Okay, so we see that these are the three necessary components. First, the statement or the example is Tashi ki lakpa. So in the statement Tashi ki lakpa, which is Tashi's hand, we see that the first part is the whole, which is Tashi, because Tashi is the collective of all different parts: the head, the torso, the hands, the arm, the leg, the feet. So Tashi is a collective of all of these parts. So right now we're only going to talk about the physical features as a part, not about the mental features such as the consciousness and all. So we try to keep it simple when we try to understand it in a context of grammar. So Tashi is the whole. Why? Because Tashi is the collective of all different parts. That is the leg, the arm, the hand, the feet, the torso, the neck, and the head. So the whole. Ki is the grammatical, it's the particle of the sixth grammatical case. And we will study the rules of these particle following the suffix once we are done with the relation. Then the last part is lakpa, which is the part, which is one of the part that is that comes under the collection, that is tashi. So different parts. So out of those different parts, one is lakpa. So currently we're showing relation between the whole, which is tashi, and the part which is lakpa. So tashi ki lakpa, the hand of tashi. So the relation between these two. Lower. Sidro. Did it Tazma Pashashla? Digital, correct? Tanda the Shojito, Shoti Dinalush, correct? Kagamna. And Shembating to give Paget Dinalush, correct? Then Shandira. And that Selangito, or less. Okay, so tashi, which is the whole, and lakpa, which is the part of that whole, which is tashi. And the word that shows the relation between these two is ki, which is the particle of the sixth grammatical case. Okay, now the second example is Xingdong ki loma, the leaf of the tree. So here we see that the whole, which is the collective of different parts. So we see that, so in the most concise manner, we can say that a tree consists of the root system and the shoot system. And then the shoot system consists of the branches, the stem, all of those vascular tissue, especially and as well as the leaves that they have. So leaf is a part of that shoot system, as we know. And so we see that here the whole is the tree, which is collection of all of these different things. The branch, the leaves, the nodes, the stem. And then in some cases, some cases, if it's a fruit-bearing tree, then it will have flowers. If it is not a fruit-bearing tree, then it will not have a flower. So we see that different parts come together to make this tree. And then leaf is just one of those parts. So there is relation between the whole, that is the tree, and then a part of the tree that is a leaf. And the relation is shown by the usage of this particle of sixth grammatical case, that is kakiku-ki. Now finally, we have the statement Lobte Menkang, the hospital of the school's hospital. So here we see that the school that we're talking in this context, this school this is referred to as a whole school with the inclusion of the hospital. So hospital is one of the buildings that is a part of the school. So for example, the school, let's talk about a school, like a school that has a hostel. Then the school will have classrooms, it will have hostels, it will have the mess where they eat, then there will be hall, gathering hall, then they will have playgrounds, and then they will have hospital, and then inside the school they will have the infirmary or the clinic. But if something serious happened, they have this hospital. And then they have the school cafeteria. They will have the school cafeteria, the school stationery shops. So many different, they will have the office, school administrative offices. So many different buildings come together to make that whole school. And the hospital is just one part of those many different buildings, one of those many different buildings. And the relation between this hospital, which is a part, and the school, which is a whole, is shown by the usage of the hakyuguyi, which is the sixth grammatical case. So now we're done with one relation. Now the second relation, which is the relation of object and owner. Takpo dan ze ki tewa. Takpo, owner, ze, object, tewa, relation of object and owner. Ngwe kangrung sushi la tagba temper namye Drubpay te jorwa. Ngwe kangrung means whichever object. So an object, whichever object belonging to someone. So that's someone to whom the object belongs. And the relation between that object and the owner of that object is shown by the sixth grammatical case. So here we see that there are two criteria. The first criteria, so one criteria is already pervasive, that is that the statement should be of the sixth grammatical case, which is something that doesn't need to be stated. But the specialized, the specific criteria in this case, first criteria is that the statement should show relation between two names. The first, the one of the names should be the owner, and the other should be the one should be the owner, and other should be the object that is being owned. So we see that in the first case, in the first relation, one of the name is the location or the position. The second name is the object that is dependent or is currently located at that location. And then the second one, which we talked about, the second relation, we understood that the name could either be the whole, and then the second name has to be the part of that whole. And in this case, we see that one name should be the owner, the other name should be the object. And when we said name, we already established that it could either be an actual name, it could be a designated, or in some translation, nominal. But we are going to stick with designated name. And finally, it could either be a pronoun. So these two names should have a relation. So the statement should show a relation between these two names in a way that the relation is of the object and the owner. First criteria. Second criteria is that this relation should be shown by the particle of sixth grammatical case, thus reaffirming the pervasive criteria, that is that the statement should be of sixth grammatical case. So usage of the particle of sixth grammatical case, what it does, that it reaffirms our statement that or our statement saying that the statement should be of the sixth grammatical case. So only two criteria. First criteria, that the two names should be either owner or the object, and the relation between these two objects of being owner and object should be established by the usage of the sixth grammatical case. Only two criteria here. Okay, components which are necessary for these type of statement. First, Drubpay. Then one name should be the owner. Six, the particles of sixth grammatical case. And finally, the object. So one name should be owner, the other name should be object, and the relation, the one that shows the relation between these two should be the sixth grammatical case. Okay, now the example. Nge thep, my book. Dikar, ngze thep the, nga la thakwa, tumbar, namye trupe sikte hakyugi, tumbar takpo tang zekitrawa. So, my book. Here the object, which is the book, is shown to belong to the owner, which is I, by the usage of the particles of sixth grammatical case, which is hakyugi. So statement showing relation between object and the owner is called statement of owner and object relation. So therefore, we see that normally when we say nge, even in the colloquial system, when we say nge, we understand that to be my. But the my is a very wide concept. My could be just showing the possession over something. My can also show a relation between in Tibetan grammatical system. Nge not only shows possession, sometimes it shows the position and location. Sometimes it may show position or location. Sometimes it may show it may show the relation between the characteristic and characteristic bearer. Sometimes it may show the relation between the cause and effect. So the concept of a sixth grammatical case is relation cases more than just being possessor. So therefore, we never identify the sixth grammatical case to be a possessing case. We say relative case so that we understand that there is a relation between these two names. So this statement, particularly, we see it shows the relation between the two names. One is the owner, the other one is the object that is owned. And this is shown by the usage of the particle of sixth grammatical case. And such statement is called statement of owner and object relation. Okay, now the example. So we change it to Dorje. And the reason why I'm doing this is to be consistent with the translation. That's the only reason why we're doing it, to be consistent with the translation of the word. Because since we're already studying this course, and then we have already established many different terminologies which may be contradictory to other translations. So we better stick to our own translation and be consistent with it. And then in later times, if in certain time, if we could have discussion with other courses that they're teaching in Tibetan, and we could have a discussion with them, then definitely whatever happens, I will discuss it with every one of you. And then if there are some changes that needs to be made in here, I'll do it after discussion with whenever I get the opportunity to discuss the thing with other translations or translator of the same terms. So Dorje, which is the statement example. Second one, Drubpay, which is the owner. The sixth grammatical case, particle of sixth grammatical case, and then finally ze, which is the object. His home. The owner is him. Ko. The particle, sixth grammatical case is he, and then the object owned is nang. Nye zinta, my, ngansu zinta, our class. The owner is us, nganso, which is us. And then the particle is hakyuguyi. And then the object that upon which we establish an ownership is jinta. Finally, senge chenwa. Senge could be a name of a person. Currently, Takpo, the owner, and then the particle is hakyuguyi, and then the object which is owned is chenwa, which is the rosary of Senge. Okay, so with this, we're done with today's lesson. So before we go to recitation of the text, does anyone have questions regarding today's lesson? Only 2 relations that we have discussed today. So does anyone have any questions regarding today's lesson? So any questions for today's lesson?
I have a question, Tenzila.
Can
you screen share the last slide that we just had?
This one?
Yes. So in this green row, there is dakpo dhang ze ki, right? So this is this particle that we are talking about.
Yes.
And then it's repeating again here after. Yeah, it's again with pi pa hagi guhi. Right, so 2 times it's coming. So I was wondering, so what is the case here with respect to example and relation of owner and object? So there has to be some relationship between these two. That's why this key is here, right?
Yes.
And also there will be some relationship between the relation and owner and object. So if you can explain that.
So here, which means that the relation of object and owner. So here what we are doing is that we are, this is an example of the relation which we will discuss in the next class, which is the characteristic and characteristic bearer. So this is a relation, but what type of relation? What is the characteristic of this relation? It's a relation that is of the owner and the object. So therefore, in this case, it is the characteristic and the characteristic bearer. This is the characteristic bearer, which is the relation, and the characteristic is of the object and owner in this case. Now, perje means that now this is also a characteristic and characteristic bearer relation, where the characteristic bearer is the statement. What type of statement? The statement that shows the relation, the statement that shows. So here we see that this entire thing will become the characteristic. Which means the type in which they show the relation between object and owner. So two statement here, two part. If we just take this portion, we see that this entire thing is of the statement of characteristic and characteristic bearer relation. But if we take this entire portion, we see that from this point to this point just becomes the characteristic, and this is the characteristic bearer. So in the larger context, this becomes just a part of this entire context. But if we just look at this one, we see that this itself is also an example of characteristic bearer, which is Delwa relation, and the characteristic which is of the object and owner. So we see example of. What is this example of? This is example. What type of example this is? This is example of relation. What type of relation? Of owner, relation of owner and object. So owner and object becomes a characteristic of relation, and the relation of owner and object becomes the characteristic of example. So what type of example? The example that shows the relation of owner and object. One thing, if we consider the entire statement. Now the other one, if we ignore this point, this one example of, if we ignore this, we say the relation. Then we say what type of relation? The relation of owner and object. So characteristic and characteristic bearer. This we will study in the next class, but this is what the relation is in this in this heading. Sorry, in this heading. So I hope that it is clear. If not, then please ask me more questions. I'll try to clear it even more.
No, I think it's clear. Just that in the structure, the characteristic will come first, and then the particle, and then the character. Sorry, the character bearer, right?
Yes.
Characteristic.
Yes. So 1 minute.
So sorry, it was like
I cannot. I will not. Let me just think of one example that could be contradictory. So okay. Just one moment. No, this is not the case. In this case, yes, it is the case where the characteristic is predicate, meaning it comes in first, right? But yeah. we can also, what we can do is that we can also reverse it. So the characteristic bearer could come first, and the characteristic could come second. So so for example, if we say like, for example, so we have a bird in Tibet, we call it kyuchu. So kyuchu is a bird that is in Tibet. So it sings, and it sings very well. When we say sing, it makes a noise which is very sweet to the ears. It's like normally we give the example of a nightingale, right? So it's similar. In Tibet, we have this bird that sings, mostly when the rain is going to fall. So this bird has a very beautiful, very sweet sound. So if we say kyuchu ki sungne, so if we say kyuchu ki sungne, so let me write this. Kyuchuk ki sungne. Kyuchuk ki sungne. We understand that. So this is chuk. So we change this by kyuchu. Kyuchu ki kyuchu yi songne, which is the sweet sound of the bird kyuchu. Here we see that the characteristic bearer, which is kyuchuk, is written in the first, and sungnyen is written in the second. So this is the case in which we can actually have two cases. The case in which the characteristic could be in the first, and then the bearer could come at the next. So in that case, so we can have it in the reverse. But in this case, we have the characteristic. Sorry, in this case, we have the characteristic first, and then the bearer second. But we can also have a case where the bearer is first and the characteristic is second. But only for this type of statement, this is possible. Not for this, not for this, not for this, or the one which we discussed last class, in the last class, of the location and the object. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Tanzila.
Lasso. Okay, now, does anyone else have questions regarding today's class? Any more questions? Anyone has any questions? No more questions? Okay, in that case, does anyone, so first I'll just give it as a as a choice. Does anyone wants to read today the portion till the third grammatical case? Does anyone wants to read? Okay, so in that case, yes, I will send the praise for the Manjushri in the group. So For every praise that or dedication that I write, I will send it. So does anyone wants to read the memorization? No one. No one wants to read. You can either recite it through memorization, or you can look at the text and recite it. And other thing, make sure that you have at least 10 minutes each day where you're reciting the text. So just 10 minutes, not a lot, just 10 minutes, and you just recite it. If you are not able to recite it in Tibetan, then tell me, I will do the transliteration. I'll transliterate it into English so that you can read, you can memorize it easier. If it's a very big problem to memorize it in Tibetan, like for example, if you're unable to read the entire text in Tibetan, in that case, tell me, I will transliterate everything. But I would like you to read it in Tibetan one day, but for the sake of memorization, I will transliterate the entire thing. Yes, please, Yurila. Thank you very much. Please read.
Angela, I got another question if I can ask.
So first we'll answer the question. So
we talked about bird and the sound of the bird, and you
yes.
said it will come under characteristic.
Yes. The sweet sound, the sweet sound of the bird, and the sweet sound of the bird and the bird.
But will it not come under the third case that we have discussed today, the owner and like
why?
What was it?
What? So you mean that the bird owns the voice?
Yes.
Then every good quality is owned by the owner, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Then how can we ever say that this person has this quality? So this is a question from me. So because we established through question and answers, right? So how can we say that this has this quality if everything that has to do with the quality is already something that we tell that is something that possess as like in the owner and object?
Yes, so maybe there is an overlap. We say that you have the quality, and then of course you are the owner of the quality.
Yes, but we just made an extra division on that where we say that characteristic and characteristic bearer. Definitely characteristic bearer has the characteristic, but we use it in the context where it becomes the characteristic and not the. So even in the things that you can have, we just specialize. Lower. Dimi. La. Odil dimi ko mare kore. Kore di dimi ko mare. Dimi ko du. Ko mare che konja thakla da ko cheire. Reba. Kone ji cheda. Okay. So where was I? I was talking about.
You said we made different cases for these
yes,
two.
Even if it is something that you possess, but we differentiate, we classify it as something that is in the context of characteristic and characteristic bearer, instead of saying that characteristic and characteristic owner. So this
but
is.
If I say sound of the bird and not sweet sound, then would it make some difference? Because you are emphasizing on sweet, so I thought maybe there is some.
So when you say that the bird and its sound, right?
Yes.
Then we might be in the relation, the second relation, which is of the whole and the part. Because the sound could be a part of the bird, right? Or we can also make it a third one, which is the relation between owner and the object.
Right, then how is adding sweet is making difference? I'm not understanding.
Because when we say sweet, it already becomes a characteristic, isn't it? When we say sweet sound, it becomes a character. So when we say that he has a good handwriting or she has a good handwriting, handwriting itself may be something that is a skill that someone has, right? But the thing that makes that someone different from the rest is on the basis of having a good handwriting, isn't it? So this is a defining characteristic. So when you want to define this bird, you'll say that, oh, that bird that has a sweet sound, isn't it?
Right.
So therefore it becomes characteristic. So right now it is analysis.
Right.
So and definitely when they established it, they did it in this way, where they questioned and then they say that, okay, so even if this is the case, let's make this a special one, you know?
Right.
Okay. Yes, so. But we will, so these differentiation are from the commentary that was the instruction from Siddha Rinpoche to Dharmapata. So when we will discuss this, discuss that text itself, we will go in more detail. So currently we'll leave it like very loose, you know?
Yeah.
So this is as much I will provide in terms of information. And then we will continue it with the next commentary to the 30. So each commentary will go even deeper and deeper and deeper into the 30. So I hope that this clarifies it to some extent. And if it doesn't, then I will clarify it even more when we continue with the commentaries. Make sure that I clarify as we go on with the commentaries, you know. Lasso. Now, Yurila, Lasso. Now, Yurila, please recite. Lasso.
Ramatan Gompo Jinsun Jampirian La Chatselo On Arapazanadi Namo Guru Mojugo Shaya Lama Chotan Yirnepe Jampirian Da Kutune Tumi Lekshi Sumjupe Nipo Dutu Sheparcha Yankee Java Seripodu Jepa Yu Eoshi Serjekaso Sumju In Kagadana Bama A Lada Sanam Genjuju Tada Sani Yanjute Tani nara lasongtang, sani kaga pamalto, pada mama agnuju, kogo tono pomo, loro soto ratute, sochik datu chekyancha, tayo to tang tame o, shenam mite jetunchan, sura dutu naratu, ratu nampatu inte, name nishi dumpatang, teni cekap namrajuk, sasu kapa tatautu, Gata nama lalatu atantame ratandu kiki igabo name dupa detatang tenam sata chengani name supa chetate.
Okay, wonderful. So from the last time which you were reciting, this time you have worked a little bit on the ra sound and it's sounding more clear. So very, very wonderful. So continue reciting it, and thank you very much for reciting. And thank you to everyone who has joined in for today's class. So make sure I will send the assignments once we are done with all the relation. So in that case, I will send the assignments. If you have any questions, send it in the group. Always appreciating the questions, so send it in the group. And then if you want me to listen to your recording of the text, send me the recording. I will listen to it. Even if I don't give the answer like immediately, I will make sure that I give you the answer eventually. And when I say eventually, it doesn't mean that it will be in like infinite future, but somewhere in between like 1 week to 2 weeks at the most. So thank you very much for joining in. Very wonderful to have you all in the class, and thank you for your commitment, which I always make sure to mention. And whatever questions that you have, send it to me directly. Whichever clarifications you need from me, just say it. And if you want transliteration, make sure you tell it to me. I'll make sure I do the transliteration of the text. And keep reciting, keep memorizing, keep learning. And then before we end, let me just do a small purification. That is like I bow down to all the sentient beings who are patient with my imperfect speech and who are very much patient with imperfect me, who still has to work hard to attain the enlightenment. I apologize for the delay in attaining the enlightenment, and then I pray that I would, with all the sentient beings, would attain enlightenment as soon as possible by the blessings of the Guru. Please forgive me for my imperfections. May I work hard to make those into perfect speech of Manjushri. May Manjushri bless us all in learning this language, and may learning of this language open the doors to wisdom and enlightenment. So thank you very much, and I will see every one of you on Saturday. Thank you. Tashitele.